All right, ready to jump into something new. Today we're going to dig into a field most people don't think much about, wastewater engineering.
You think wastewater, you probably think, ew, right?
Yeah, not exactly glamorous,
Yeah.
but it's actually way more important than most people realize.
Absolutely.
Okay, so this deep dive is going to be interesting. Our guide calls it more than meets the eye. And they're not wrong. Wastewater engineering, it's not just about what goes down the drain.
Right. No, not at all. It's about protecting our health, our environment, even how our cities work, really.
Our cities work from wastewater.
Yeah. Think about it. The whole system, the pipes, the treatment plants, wastewater engineers design and maintain all of that.
So they're making sure wastewater is, what, collected somehow?
Yeah. Collected, treated properly to get rid of all the pollutants. And then returned to the environment without causing harm. It's a big responsibility.
Huge responsibility. And probably not a job for the squeamish.
Well, there's definitely that aspect. But it's also about protecting our communities and ecosystems. It's a lot bigger than just sewage.
That's a good point. So they're like guardians of the unseen world beneath our feet.
Exactly. And that translates into some good job security too, by the way. Our guide mentioned a projected 5% growth rate over the next 10 years.
Wow, that's pretty impressive. Especially for a job that, let's face it, most people don't even think about.
Right. Out of sight, out of mind, as they say.
So what does a typical day even look like for a wastewater engineer? Is it all like waders and hard hats venturing into the sewers?
Well, you might need those sometimes for site visits and inspections and such.
Right.
But there's a lot of office work too. Using software to design systems, analyze data, putting together proposals.
So it's a mix of hands-on and,
Yeah.
what do they call it? High-tech problem solving.
Exactly. And forget that lone wolf engineer stereotype. Collaboration is key in this field.
Oh, really? Who are they collaborating with?
Other engineers, of course,
Yeah.
but also environmental scientists, urban planners, even government officials sometimes.
Wow. Okay. So they've got to be good at explaining things then, making sure everyone's on the same page.
Communication is key, absolutely. Our guide actually mentioned a project where, let me see if I can remember this. Yes, the engineers had come up with this amazing new treatment system, but they had a hard time explaining it to the local community.
Oh, no.
Yeah, it just goes to show the best solutions in the world are useless if you can't get people on board.
That's very true.
Yeah.
So it's about bridging that gap,
Right.
right? Between the technical world and, well, everyone else.
Exactly. And then there's the technology side of things, which is constantly evolving.
I was just about to ask about that.
Smart sensors, real-time monitoring. This isn't your grandparents' sewage system anymore.
It's amazing how technology is changing even the most, shall we say, essential but often overlooked fields. So for anyone listening who's now thinking, hey, this wastewater engineering thing actually sounds pretty important and even kind of cool, what kind of skills would they need to make a career out of it?
Well, first and foremost, you got to love science and engineering. We're talking about designing complex systems, analyzing environmental data, making sure everything runs smoothly, all that good stuff.
So when you say love science and engineering, are we talking like hardcore engineering degrees?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Our guide mentions civil and environmental engineering as like the most common paths.
Okay, makes sense.
But it's not limited to just those two. I mean, there are other related fields like chemical engineering, mechanical, even geotechnical could be a good fit depending on what you're into.
So there's room to like specialize within wastewater engineering.
Exactly. It's kind of like choosing your own adventure. You know, instead of fighting dragons, you're tackling pollution.
And protecting public health.
Yeah.
Which, let's be real, is way more important than slaying dragons.
Way more important. And that's where those different engineering backgrounds come in handy. Like, let's say you're super interested in the actual treatment process, like how to remove specific pollutants.
Okay, yeah.
A background in chemical engineering would be super valuable for that.
Because you'd be the expert on like the microscopic level, right?
Right.
Breaking down those pollutants, making sure the water that goes back into the environment is actually clean.
Precisely. Or if you're more into the design aspect of it all, like those massive treatment plants, that's where mechanical engineering comes in.
Oh, right. You'd be the one designing the systems that keep everything moving, using your knowledge of, what, pumps and pipes and all that.
Exactly. It's pretty incredible, really. But it's not all about the technical stuff, though.
Right, because you've got to work with people, too.
Exactly. Our guide was actually really big on this point. Yeah, communication skills and teamwork, those are non-negotiables for wastewater engineers. These are huge, complex projects we're talking about, lots of collaboration.
So you're not just working with other engineers, you're working with what, scientists and
Scientists, government officials, even the public sometimes.
the public? What do you mean?
Well, you got to be able to explain those complex engineering concepts in a way that anyone can understand.
Oh, right. So like community meetings and stuff?
Exactly. You can have the best design in the world, but if you can't explain it to the people who it's going to impact, it's not going to go very far.
That's a really good point. It's like they say, teamwork makes the dream work.
Exactly. And in this case, the dream is protecting public health and the environment. Pretty important dream, if you ask me.
Couldn't agree more.
Okay.
Okay, so let's say you've got those technical skills down. You're a master communicator. You can work a room full of scientists and government officials.
Yeah.
What about certifications? Aren't there like official certifications that can help you get ahead in this field?
Yeah, certifications are kind of like the official stamp of approval, you know? They show employers you're legit.
And I bet there are quite a few of them in a specialized field like this.
There are. Our guide mentioned the PE license, for starters.
PE.
Yeah, professional engineer. It's a biggie, especially if you want to move into like senior roles or maybe even work as a consultant.
So it gives you more options down the road.
Exactly. And then you've got your more specialized certifications, like the certified water professional
Okay.
or the certified wastewater operator, CWO, that kind of thing. It shows you've got that extra knowledge in those specific areas.
Speaking of specific areas, I have to admit, I always kind of lumped water engineering and wastewater engineering together in my head.
I can see why you'd think that.
But our guide actually made a point of saying they're not the same.
Right. Totally different beasts, actually. They both involve water, sure, but the challenges, the regulations, it's all very different.
It's kind of like, I don't know, comparing a chef to a baker, maybe.
Yeah, I like that.
They both work with food, but their expertise is totally different.
Exactly. One's making sure we have clean water to drink. The other's making sure what we flush away is treated properly. Both crucial. Both require specialized knowledge.
Totally. Okay, so let's say you've got the education, you work on the certifications. What's the actual career path look like?
We'll usually start out as a junior engineer, lots of hands-on experience, learning the ropes.
Got to pay your dues.
Exactly. Our guide actually emphasized that. Those early years are all about building a strong work ethic, proving you can handle
The less glamorous parts of the job.
let's just say it's not all high-tech problem solving in the beginning.
Makes sense. But then after a few years, you can start to specialize.
Exactly. You might move into a management role overseeing projects and teams,
Okay.
or you could become a specialist in like a particular type of treatment process or something. Some wastewater engineers even go into research and development.
Oh, wow. Pushing the boundaries of what's possible in the field? That's pretty cool.
Right. It's a field with a lot more depth than people realize.
So not a dead-end job at all. Lots of room to grow and keep things interesting.
Exactly. And with the way the world's going, the demand for skilled wastewater engineers is only going to increase.
What do you mean?
Well, think about it. Growing cities, more and more people.
Yeah,
All that wastewater has to go somewhere.
that's true. So it's like a job that actually makes a difference.
Exactly. And a job that'll be around for a long, long time.
That's always good to know. So for anyone listening who might actually be intrigued by this whole wastewater engineering thing, where would you even start?
Well, lucky for you, the guide we've been talking about has a ton of resources. Professional organizations, certification bodies, even tips for networking in the field.
Networking is always key, right?
Absolutely. Especially in a field like this. Going to conferences, connecting with people on LinkedIn.
It's all about making those connections.
Exactly. And, this is interesting, the guide also talked about how AI is starting to play a big role in the recruitment process.
Oh, well. AI is everywhere these days, isn't it?
It really is. So it's not just about having the right skills and experience anymore.
You got to impress the robots, too.
Basically, yeah. Your resume, your cover letter, even your online presence needs to be optimized for the algorithms that are scanning all that stuff.
That's kind of intimidating.
I know, but it's just the way things are going.
So the takeaway is, even if you're going into a field that seems, low tech on the surface.
With wastewater engineering.
Exactly. You still got to be tech savvy.
100%.
Well, this has been fascinating and a little overwhelming, if I'm being honest.
I hear you. It's a lot to take in.
But seriously, who knew wastewater engineering could be this? Interesting.
I know, right? It's one of those hidden heroes of our modern world. Keeps everything running smoothly behind the scenes.
Literally. Well, I think we've all learned something today, and maybe even inspired a few future wastewater engineers out there.
I
That's it for today's deep dive. Thanks for joining us.